What up? You know what it is, man. Your boy TrendsetterSense, Rhythm and Streets. And we back at it again. Of course, I have this very established individual next to me. Acclaimed singer, actress, fashion designer, businesswoman, executive producer. I mean, man, the likes of greatness that she's worked with. She's accomplished so many things. She's still working on so many things. She has a very powerful voice. She stands for a lot of things, and we're gonna dive into this conversation. The lovely Nicci Gilbert in the building. How you doing?
Nicci Gilbert Daniel, since the husband is in the building.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm
Very
good. I'm very good. Thank
Very
you so
good.
much for joining this platform, man.
Thank you for having me.
Let's dive into it. Detroit, born and raised.
What up, though?
Yes.
What we doing? One Pride, them Lions. Where y'all at? What y'all doing?
Represent. Y'all just won. Congratulations. Are y'all going to go to the bowl? Or
yes,
what
absolutely. Positive. Well, Detroit loves Vegas. Vegas knows Detroit is like one of the cities that just frequents Vegas all the time.
Okay.
So we might as well be there for the Super Bowl.
Little conspiracy
just
thing right there.
Okay.
I believe in y'all. I like what y'all got going on. You know,
Thank
my
you.
Eagles, like, you know.
Yeah, my husband was a little disappointed last night,
Yeah,
too.
it's a wrap, man. It's a wrap. Let's talk about it. Brownstone.
Yes, sir.
Man, I
Yes.
mean, yeah. Signed to Michael Jackson.
Yes.
Can you tell me, like how did that even come together?
You know, it's crazy because I tell the story a lot, and you're going to see a lot of it in the book upcoming, Diary of a Diva comes soon. But it really was, I mean, obviously it was God. It was God, the universe. It was just, a great opportunity that came out of something that honestly kind of scared me a little bit.
Okay.
The truth is I got stranded in the desert, and I've told the story many times. After we put the group together and, put our little demos and whatnot together, we were walking down the street in LA on Melrose. That's when Melrose was Melrose, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's different now.
Yeah.
But we were walking down the street on Melrose, and this guy, was like, "Oh my God," to Maxie, like, "You're drop dead gorgeous. Will you participate in my music video?
Wow.
Will you be the lead in the video?"
Wow.
So, me and my Detroit energy, I was like, "Girl, yes, I'm doing the video. I'm gonna connect with these people because they white people." So you know how you do, how we do, right?
Yeah.
So long story short, a tire blew out on one of the 15 passenger vans. And there were two. And, they were like, "Oh, we got to get the shot." So I was like, I'll stay behind with one of the producers to, network a little bit and support the person.
Yeah.
Long and short, nobody ever came. No AAA came. We were stranded in the middle of the desert. We walked into a bar, basically, like in the middle of nowhere.
This is really
actually happening, right? We walk into this bar because we're like, okay, we got to find somebody. It was way out, right? And not the desert like where you see mirages of water, just a desert town, a small desert town. So long story short, he walked over to these two guys and he was like, "Hey, I'll give you X amount of dollars. This is what I have in my pocket to get us back to LA." They were in the El Camino. Sorry, but no thank you. He left me stranded in the desert, left me. Like, if you're not gonna go, listen, it's a hotel, whatever. I'm walking down the street, literally crying, praying, like, "God, if you get me out of this." Look up, and there's a desert police station. Go to the police station, call Mimi, who was in the group at the time, crying, sobbing, "Can you please come and pick me up?" She came and picked me up to make up for leaving me stranded in the desert.
Wow.
One of the producers said, "I'll hook up a meeting with you with Emerald Forest Publishing." A friend of mine is a publisher.
All right.
So we're like, great. So a week or so later, we went, had this meeting with this guy, Barry Kolsky, at Emerald Forest. And, it was a courtesy meeting. He was going to take us to a lunch and let us meet with the publisher to make up for me being stranded in the desert and left by his partner.
Okay.
So Barry listened, and he was like, we sang, foreign place and music. He was like, "Oh, very nice, but not exactly what we're looking for." And I remember the look on his face, the way he turned his nose up and everything, because that is a moment you never forget. Like, this might be it.
Yeah.
On the way out the door, two women who were sitting downstairs were like, "What was that upstairs we were listening to?" And I was like, "Us. I'm from Detroit. That's our music. Boom, let's do it."
Yeah.
We sang and performed for them. They were the owners of the company that Barry worked for downstairs.
Wow.
They were like, "Can you come back and do this again? We want to take you to introduce you to somebody." Long story short, they introduced us to Jerry Greenberg, and the rest is history.
Just like that.
Yeah. So I had to tell the long-winded story because it was really just from the desert literally to Michael Jackson.
Wow. And then, okay, can you describe the first conversation that you actually had?
So Michael was very well protected,
okay.
you know. So, and one of the beautiful things is because we have written most of our, pretty much all of the music, you know, I co-wrote, produced with producers. They allowed us to just create the album. So he wasn't involved in the day-to-day of creating the album, except he would listen to every record. His team would listen. They would send them over to Michael, and we would get notes back. Yeah. So, you know, we never spoke directly to him until we started doing those conferences and conventions they used to have back in the day.
It was super
like
structured.
Jack the Rappers. Oh, yeah, no. It was no, hey, come hang out.
Yeah.
Although we did get invited to the house for Thanksgiving, and we met the family, and we went, you know, in Encino. Yeah. And, you know, we did have a few interactions with him, but it wasn't like that. It wasn't like, hey, Mike. That wasn't it.
So there was never like a point in time. You said he would listen to the records. Did he ever give you like a piece of advice?
Yes, we got feedback often. Jono, who was our head of A&R, who we love. We had a great team at MJJ. Jerry, Jono, really incredible people. Would often give us, you know, I actually have notes at home that I'm saving for the book Diary of a Diva, which is coming soon. But just like it would be on the letterhead, you know, notes from this is what we changed, you know. And it's interesting because a lot of people don't even know Grapevine on our album was
I heard it through the
demo. It's the demo recording of the Grapevine.
The one that
I went in and referenced in demo, the one that was released, that everybody's listening to, that 5.5-minute song. Was actually the demo version, because one of the notes we got was we like the demo better than what you re-recorded. So that was actually like, you know, back in the day we would reference the vocals, and it wouldn't just be a half-ass reference. Like we would go all out.
Right.
Grapevine was the reference.
Yeah.
That was a reference vocal.
It's funny that you're talking about references, because I was listening to, speaking of Michael Jackson, the reference to, was it was off the first Off the Wall album.
Oh wow.
Yeah, something related with Quincy Jones or whatever. And the reference, they were talking about the producer. Yeah. The reference was so trash.
Really?
The dude that wrote the song, it was it Can't Help It? No, that was on
Ooh,
Thriller.
That's a banger too.
I know. It was I can't remember. And it kind of like the online demo. It went online or whatever. Yeah. And it was just trash. So when you telling me how, like you know, you're talking about the references, and that was the version that came out.
Yeah, no, because everything you did, when you get a deal with Michael Jackson, everything you do has to be top tier. Yeah, like what you doing, you know what I mean? Like I do remember specifically, and I share this a lot. I remember the conversation that we did have. I was like, you know, first of all, thank you. You changed our lives, whatever. And I was like, I'm nervous, and he was like, why are you nervous? I chose y'all because you're great. Wow. Go out there and be great. Wow. Don't let your nervousness prevent you from being great. Yeah. And I just carry that with me everywhere. Because, I mean, ain't nobody else really got to say shit to me. I'm like, Michael Jackson told me I was great. Gave me a record deal. What you talking about?
When did you discover the ability that you knew you were a great songwriter? Like, where did that come from?
You know, my dad was a Motown writer. My dad wrote If I Were Your Woman for Gladys Knight. My dad worked with Michael Jackson when he was young. He's got references and demos with Michael. Wow. Which is crazy. Barry Gordy. Barry Gordy's niece, Robin Terry, who runs Motown now, is my college roommate. Okay. So, you know.
It was in you.
It was in the DNA. And my mom's a jazz singer. And I get it from both parents. Okay. They're both artists. They met with her being a singer and him being a producer. Okay. So I wasn't supposed to do nothing else, really.
It was destiny.
It was just in my DNA. And I'm from Detroit. What are we doing?
Hilarious. Talk about, so like Brownstone, when did it, like, it was a very, very, very big deal in the 90s. I remember.
It's still a big deal.
No, I'm talking about when y'all came out. Right, I'm talking about as you came out. Yes. When was there like a shift in the group, like different members and stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, in the first iteration of Brownstone, which was Nicci, Maxie, and Mimi. Yeah. The truth is, Mimi just decided she didn't want to do it anymore. Okay. It wasn't girl group drama per se. Mm-hmm. You know, it was just, she just felt like, hey, I want to get my education. Her father was the vice chancellor at UCLA. She fell in love. Yeah. We had a very grueling schedule. We would go to Europe and be over there for 5,000 years. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it was just a very, it took off so quickly that she just, you know, really honestly, I will never forget. It was like, okay, just take some time to think about it and let us know what you want to do, because she wasn't really, it had gotten to a point where I don't feel like she was participating wholeheartedly in it because it just wasn't wholeheartedly in her spirit. She was even getting, like, there was times when her bronchitis would get crazy. You know what I mean? And she would have, it was just a lot, I think.
Yeah.
You know, being a young woman who had a passion for education, which she still does. She's an incredible educator in Los Angeles now. She has some amazing children as a result of her relationship. So I don't think she really has any regrets. We had a chance to come back together for Essence for a moment, which, you know, was great.
Yeah.
But when Mimi left, Kina, who was actually my homegirl from Detroit, and we went to college together, and I just knew she could sing. I was like, yo, there's an opportunity here in this group. Mimi's leaving. It just makes sense because Kina's an incredible singer, as was Mimi. Why don't you give it a whirl and see if it works for you?
Right.
And with Kina, there was definitely tension and girl group stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think it's very difficult. The thing about Brownstone and being, you know, a group where everybody sings lead is that if everybody is a lead singer, you get the benefit of that dope sound.
Yeah.
But then you also get the disadvantage of like, well, hold up, I'm just as dope as you are. So why am I over here and you? And we tried to do a lot of like, I'm not the person who always has to be in the middle. Like, I'm not the person who always, I speak in interviews because I like to talk. I like to share stories. I speak. And Maxie never liked it.
Gotcha.
So it was just naturally a thing that I did, you know? And people had grown to appreciate the originals because they knew us. So when Kina got into the group, there was a whole lot of, well, she ain't Mimi, and she ain't such and such, and why she did. And then that, you know, it becomes difficult when you have your homegirl who's like, yo, you're supposed to pad me from all of this drama and stuff. And I'm like, child, I'm trying to act. I'm trying, you know, like I'm on Martin now. I'm doing like all sorts of other stuff.
I wanted to get into that
which,
too.
You know what I mean? Like, so as they started to have more aspirations to step out and do their own thing, which Maxie did too. People don't know. Maxie moved to London for 10 years and like, I don't want nothing to do with the group. Listen, that's all a part of the book. Like, people assume that it was just me and ego and big voice and taking over. But this was really like, I would literally try to pull back a lot of times. We had issues. I went and spoke to the network, wrong group, the record company. Because the I Can't Tell You Why record, there's a version of it with me singing on it. I absolutely did not want to do that record. But that came down from the top of Sony. No, Nicci has to do this record. Maxie was like, why? I was like, why? She's dope as fuck. Why isn't she not doing this by herself? And people assume that it's something that I just push myself into when it's not. That was when the label was of the mindset that you have a lead singer and then a second person and a third person.
Yeah.
And they made those decisions.
So you felt like you were in a space where you were balancing being a team player, but also having a lead persona of your brand within it? Is that like a battle that you
It was to a degree because it wasn't just me. Again, keep in mind, we're 23 and 24.
Right.
And we from the hood. And even though I was vocal about certain stuff, it was certain stuff I wasn't taking.
Right.
I wasn't, you know, Nicci go sing that song. Tommy told tell you to go sing a verse. What you gonna do?
Right.
No, sir. Although, I mean, I think Tommy respects me because there were moments when I had to be really straightforward and honest. I never really bit my tongue, but in those situations, it's a business. They're marketing and promoting us, and this is what they're asking for.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it was a little bit of what was required of me as a part of my responsibility in this group as the label identifying me as a lead and the struggle that I had of wanting everything to be equal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, I got you from right there. You mentioned acting. You mentioned being on Martin. When was the transition from singing to the acting?
I've always wanted to act before I wanted to sing.
Okay.
People don't even know that. I was in drama in high school. Shout out to Susan Story, my other mother, Scottish woman who came into the hood, taught a bunch of, you know, black kids how to act. The reason why I went to college was because, you know, theater scholarship that she helped me get. So acting has always been a passion. I always knew I was going to do that.
Yeah. So how did that, like, what was the first role? What was the first opportunity?
So I don't even remember what I think the role that most people will remember is Martin.
The Martin one.
Yeah, I had a small role in Living Out Loud.
Okay.
With Queen Latifah and Danny DeVito, like at the end of it with Holly Hunter.
Okay.
Hello. On the stoop. I was the girl on the stoop. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, Martin was the biggest thing.
Okay.
And then after that, I think it was Sister Sister and a bunch of other stuff came up.
Living Single.
Living Single.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Martin role. You would like, it was like you were auditioning.
Yes.
For him.
Pam's cousin.
Yeah.
Alicia.
Yeah. And shout out to my producer Warren. We were, in our research game, we rewatched it and we were talking about it. Was that like a possible pilot for a spinoff?
I would like to think so. I think if I stayed in LA, I would have probably done a lot more acting and television stuff. They were great to me. Kyle Bentley Evers, Martin, Tisha, Tashina, Carl, everybody. Tommy, rest in peace. They were awesome, but I think it was just a guest role. It was a very popular episode to this day.
Yeah.
But I think it was just a guest
and
role.
he was like your manager or something, right? And it was a whole record label thing.
And Tracy Morgan, everybody was crazy. Yeah.
So, and then you were also involved with some plays, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, break that down.
Yes. So Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
I was the original Vera Brown, you shot, and Meet the Browns. The actual performances and the shows, after I got through a certain part of it, was the most fun I ever had in my life.
Okay.
David and Tamela Mann, some of the best leadership that I've experienced. Really great people. So that was just a fun role.
Okay.
I'm still cool with just everybody from the cast of Meet the Browns.
What was this? You said the certain part. Like, what do you?
Well, I mean, if you work for Tyler. If you have worked for Tyler, then it's just let me be respectful and honest. That's the thing.
Speak objectively.
Yeah. How about we speak the truth?
Okay, go ahead.
How about we speak the truth?
I'm in the truth.
And I mean zero disrespect.
Yeah.
In this regard.
Yeah.
But everybody done got bit by the Cat Williams bug. Lord Jesus. So when I did Meet the Browns, first of all, getting the role, I didn't go in for the role of Vera Brown, right?
Okay.
I went in for the role of like Malay, I think the daughter or something, right? And it's beautiful because how it happened, Monifa, Demetria McKitty, and I were in like this play in Dothan, Alabama, and nobody showed up. This is a testimony for people just performing regardless, because nobody showed up for this play. It's probably a 2,000-seater. It might have been 40 people in the audience.
Okay.
So the promoter was like, look, we're not going to even be able to pay y'all. You decide whether or not you want to come and do this. You don't have an obligation, but we're here, whatever. Mm-hmm. We performed the show. Tyler was one of those 40 people in the audience.
Okay, wow.
And he came backstage and he was like, you're amazing. I'm doing a play. I would love for you to consider a role. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible.
Right.
So he hired me and Demetria, both.
Okay, yeah.
And Kim, another person who was in the play. And I was originally supposed to play another role. And he said, you know what, I want to see you as Vera. Now, originally, Vera was just like an older woman who was, crying at the funeral because of her father, super religious, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I decided to decorate the character a little bit.
Okay.
And,
Improv,
when you get a role,
you should.
What I mean? I'm
make
like,
it yours.
let me just, right.
Yeah.
So I remembered like certain women that I met growing up, and I'm like, I'm going to make her an alcoholic. She's Brown's sister. Mm-hmm. So she's Brown's sister. She just can't. She either has to be the polar opposite of Brown, like super prim and proper, or that's what she get it from her brother. Right. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
So if you know Mr. Brown, he is just a riot. So I made her funny. I made her a smart ass. I made her alcoholic. I made her very physical with the legs shaking and you shop and just bordering on Step and Fetch It, right? Mm-hmm. Bordering on it, but more physical comedy. I thought of it more like Carol Burnett, who I'm a huge fan of.
Got you,
right?
Yeah.
So Tyler was at rehearsal and was like, so what, she's an alcoholic now? And I was like, well, not really an alcoholic, I just thought. And he like looked at me like, and I was like, okay, keep it, let's see if it works. I was like, okay. But he was on my ass the whole time. Okay. So much so that I think the night before we opened up, there was a rehearsal. And like, I was getting notes from the director because Tyler wasn't in this play, but he's involved in everything. And I would be getting notes. And he was just like, he came to one of the dress rehearsals before we opened up. And he said, I'm just going to tell y'all now, he was in the audience. Oh, it was a voice from the sky. Some of y'all going home some of y'all might not make it to, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the night before the show. And he was like, Vera. And I was like, oh my God, I'm about to get fired. So it just knocked me off my square because I'm like, I was doing too much. I should have reeled it in.
Okay.
Whatever. So the director came to me, and I don't think I've ever said this publicly. The director, David, everybody who was in there, like, look, you've been killing it in rehearsal. Don't just do what you do. If you're gonna lose if you're gonna not have a job after opening night, then at least you made the right decision and did whatever, right? So I'm literally standing backstage thinking to myself, do I go out here and like pull it in and be more like TV actor?
Yeah.
Do I, what do I do? And as soon as that hit the line right before mine to come in there, I'm like, okay. And I just go out there and I'm like, I'm going all out Detroit style, old ladies, whatever. And the audience lost it from like the first few words.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I'm so glad I listened to God, the people around me who were, and then it still didn't stop there because, like we're deep in the show in New York and he came in the dressing room and like closed the door and I was like, he about to fire me. I'm about to get fired. And I was like, and it was right before show again. And he was like, I need to talk to you. And I was like, oh God. And he was like, I said, well, if I'm gonna get fired, can we do it like after the show? Cause I still gotta go out here and be funny. And I'm thinking I'm killing it. Cause the reviews are in, people are,
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I need to talk to you. So he closed the door. And then he started saying, if you want your career to be better, and like starts to give me the speech or whatever. And then I'm like, tears welling up a little bit. And I'm like, see, you're about to make me cry right before I go on stage. So I need to, he was like, I went to open the door. He's like, listen, he's like, treat your career better. If you want to go farther, then there are things, something, I don't even remember. It was kind of a blur. So then that was that. And then the very last, when we taped the DVD, he called me out, which is on the DVD.
Yeah.
At the end of the DVD, he like told the whole audience, like, I almost got rid of her. And I was standing there like, okay, let me just come here. So it was like, it was a compliment at the same time that it was like, okay, but like, you just told the whole world that you like.
Do you feel like it was that moment though? Like, would you have pushed yourself to like kind of be in that fateful moment to do your very best? Do you think it was that moment, or
I did what I was doing in rehearsal. I did what like the director and because like I said, he'd be in and out. So like we would go, we would rehearse, and then he'd come in to see what we've done, right? So it was like the director and everybody else was like, no, we all felt great about it.
Yeah.
I did what I did in rehearsal on that stage every night for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And that worked. I think if I had let what he said get into my head more, then I think I would have probably gotten fired.
Okay. So it was more of the willpower
to just walk in. This is my gift. You hired me for a reason. You stopped me in the other play to say X, Y, and Z, and my instincts and David and Temp, like we're all the audience is saying this is working.
Okay. Yeah.
It was, the audience is saying my perspective is working. The audience is saying my approach to the character is working.
Yeah. What do you think like led to like that?
Him calling me out on stage at the end? I think maybe he just wanted people to know he almost fired me. And like, isn't she doing good? I almost fired her.
How does that? I'm trying to think. Does that make that make sense?
I mean, I can't think about what I can't. I'm like, I don't know why he. I'm saying, I know that I did a great job in the show because I would look at the website and see the reviews, and people would be like, Vera.
Yeah.
I wasn't perfect in the. I mean, there may be an actress who could have done it better. I did my version of Vera Brown. I made her alcoholic. I picked out the purple wig. Me and Miss Maria, who's done wardrobe for him for years, picked out those crazy ass clothes.
Yeah.
And it all worked.
Yeah.
I think for what it was one of the most successful shows that he had done. So why at the end of it he said to the people that I almost didn't make it and I was the person he was going to fire? Maybe he thought of it like, I'm complimenting you because you almost didn't get it.
That was his form of complimenting.
I guess. I was like, oh shit. He's just called me out and it's there. Like, in hindsight, like, cause somebody was like, Tyler almost didn't work with you. Like one of my little cousins who loves the show. And I'm like, no, I guess that's what he said. You know what I mean? So then I have to kind of live with the tag that, I worked my ass off and did what I thought was a great job in a character. And, you know, there are some people who misinterpret or have their own. Maybe it's not a misinterpretation. Everything is left up to your own interpretation.
Right.
Some people might have thought like he pointed you out to say that you were great. Like I would have preferred him to say, hey, wasn't she amazing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whatever, if you were going to call me out.
Right.
And not say you almost fired me. Because then I have to explain, you know what I mean? It looks kind of whatever, but whatever.
So when did Nicci Gilbert decide to, you know, get on the other side of the camera?
While I was working with him.
So it was at that point?
It was working with Tyler on Meet the Browns. Lucia, who works with him, and that's the other thing. Like the promoters who promoted Meet the Browns, who still work with him, I've worked with him for years. I've done some really good business and good shows with them. So it definitely wasn't, you know, I didn't leave a bad impression with those people, right? You know what I mean? Who are his exclusive folks, right?
Yeah.
But it was when I realized how successful his show had become, Meet the Browns, and I looked out in the theater at the Airy Crown of Chicago, and we sold out 8 shows, and it's a 5,000 seat venue, and it was crazy. And I was like, okay, I'm on the wrong side of the business. And I was, as a writer, I finished writing Soul Kittens Cabaret.
Yes.
And his team, Arthur, I'm sorry, I don't need to say their names, but his people were like, hey, let's get behind this. And they started immediately working with me to help me do what he was able to do.
And then, so talk about that, you know, you started producing.
Yes.
Directing as well?
Yes.
Okay. Is this the evolution of Worth Media?
Well, Worth had not started at that point. I hadn't really fully grasped how to build the production company, and I was from the artist side, right?
Yeah.
So I hustled Soul Kittens Cabaret for years.
Yeah.
And then I called Selena Johnson, and I called Monifa, and I called Angie Stone, and I called Faith, and I called like all of my girlfriends, right? And Dee Dee, who was in Meet the Browns with me. And I was like, yo, come to Detroit. I'm doing this play. I'm doing a workshop for it. So we did the play, and we documented the behind the scenes of the workshop. Like we documented rehearsals and all this other stuff. And I was like, oh, this is a TV show. So that became R&B Divas. So I put Soul Kittens on ice a little bit.
Yeah.
So because R&B Divas was in media. And at that point, I didn't know the importance of ownership. I didn't understand ownership and licensing in TV.
Yeah.
Because nobody taught me.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I wish that I had learned from Tyler, but I wasn't really interacting with him. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But had I known those things, then it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But we're here, so it's good. I don't live with regret. So that became R&B Divas, and then the R&B Divas thing became an issue because in my opinion, culturally incompetent white male lens decided that they were going to, you know, have more power and control over a show that I created than me and Faith, who was my producer partner. And that turned bad after 2 seasons for us.
Talk to me about that. Like, what do you mean? You mean from like when you took it to the network, or like what was it?
So what happened?
I'm getting like mirrored things like from the music business. Yeah. You know, it's like this same. So I like these gems that you're dropping right now.
Yeah, just not knowing. They don't teach you business in this business.
Yeah.
They teach you how to get on that stage, put your lipstick on,
right?
And be pretty.
Yeah. Do that dance. Hit that dance.
hit that dance.
Yeah.
So my husband and I actually, like, I flew everybody down. Thank God, you know, I'm like, honey, we need to use your credit cards. But we got everybody down. We shot sizzle reel. We shot a bunch of content. Monifa, Selena, Angie. Tweet was in some of the original content. Everybody, right? Reached out to Little Mo, all of the divas. Kelly, I reached out to everyone.
Yeah.
Right? Hey guys, we're going to shoot this reality series. Come to Atlanta. So we put all this stuff together. So Faith was like, hey, I'm managed by this guy, Phil Thornton. And he knows some folks in the TV space, whatever. And I was like, oh, if he's your manager, then he's cool. He knows some people on the TV. I'll work with him. So initially, I didn't really want to give him the power to kind of speak on our behalf without us being present. And I actually said that to Faye. And she was like, you know, I trust that he's got our back.
Okay, the contracts and the paperwork was...
There was no contract or paperwork. There was just an agreement to shop it, right?
Okay.
So he went and shopped it. We set up a meeting. We went to a company, Think Factory Media. Think Factory was like, listen, we love this concept. We love you and Faith. We want a positive show. I was like, there'll be drama because, you know, I'm rebuilding my career. We're all rebuilding our careers. There'll be stuff. But what we were promised in that meeting And what we saw in some episodes of season 1, but slowly started to trickle away, was us slowly losing any control over the narrative, right? So all the women on the show that it was based on were basically given the boot. And it was Phil and his partner and Think Factory that were running the show with the network. And we didn't understand at the time that this basically meant we had no control over what the end result was, and we couldn't control somebody telling somebody that you don't like them, and you sitting up across from them and wondering what the attitude change is about, not knowing that, you know, they've been manipulated from the network. Angie's been really, all of us at this point have been really vocal about how that happened. I've even got emails to prove that there was a very intentional effort from me and Selena Johnson to not be cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an accident. You know how like you accidentally copy somebody in an email that was for other people?
Yeah.
And I accidentally got an email that basically made it clear that it was never meant for me and Selena Johnson to be cool.
Wow.
Or to work out our issues. We got an opportunity to get invited to Iyanla after season 1 before anybody did it, to sit down and really talk through some of the issues, because I really wanted to do that. We were really good friends before this show, all of us.
Yeah.
And now maybe 2 or 3 of us are still cool.
Based upon the actions that took place with this show.
And not just me and Selena, like it's across the board. Women who really loved and respected each other from the R&B Divas franchise don't even talk.
Wow.
LA, Atlanta, all seasons of each.
Wow. You've been a person that has always, from when I watch on your social media and stuff, you talk about women empowerment and empowerment, like it's in the name of your company.
Women in reality film.
Women in reality film, and you know, self-love and you did a post and you talked about the Cat Williams thing, and you did a post and you posted Monique and Shannon Sharp, and you were like, this needs to happen. Yeah. And subliminally, I mean, of course, we knew what you were trying to say. And I hear this conversation about what happened with R&B Divas. Like, how do you feel like is there a lack of empowerment and in entertainment from your perspective, from Nicci Gilbert's perspective? Can you kind of break that down from your experiences?
My experiences have been that there's absolutely a lack of empowerment and opportunity to build generational wealth and wellness, which is more important than the wealth. If you have the wealth and your mind ain't right, it don't matter, right? And I think that is an issue that we've been trying to figure out since the beginning, right? It's interesting. I have a really dope conversation coming up that I have with Eric Monty, who created Good Times, and his family, right? And one of the issues there is just the only example we have of how owning your intellectual property can really build wealth in our community is Tyler. Byron Allen, maybe Oprah Winfrey in some ways, right? Yeah. We got a few we can count on our fingers. Yeah. And out of those few, my question is how many others have been created? Like you, not work for hire.
You're talking about bosses creating bosses.
How many bosses? How many people who I would love for Tyler to take me under his wing and as everybody's not building and creating content and trying to build streaming platforms. Everyone isn't doing that. So the few of us who are that you know of, that you've worked with, I would love for someone to say, hey, listen, this model could work in Detroit. Why don't you make this thing happen in Detroit? Let me give you the tools and the resources that you need to build it over here, right? And then someone else can build it in Chicago. And then somewhere, there shouldn't be 1 or 2 people owning television production studios and companies to be able to make it happen. So I know I deviated a little bit from the women's
No, I'm with you.
And the reason I speak so much about women, right, is because if you think numbers don't lie, people do. We are the #1 consumers of a lot of this content. Like if you look at some of these streaming platforms, Black women are watching in droves, subscribing in droves. and we don't have ownership of those narratives. So everything that our young women and our young men, and women, a lot of us are leading families as single moms. You know, statistics are statistics, period. So to empower women, when you give a woman an opportunity to have ownership and spread, you know, wealth and wellness and information and education, you heal communities, right? Because women take care of their husbands if they're a good wife. Women take care of their kids if they're good mothers.
Right.
Women run things at the job. You see more and more Black-owned businesses by women thriving and making hundreds of millions of dollars in acquisitions in hair care and everywhere else. The only place we're not thriving that way is in entertainment and media, which is the #1 way our people get their information. So if you are culturally incompetent and you're painting the story and the narrative, you're creating a culture that you've never lived, that you've never been a part of. And you're creating it based on stereotypes that are toxic and destructive, because those stereotypes are compelling for people to watch.
What are the stereotypes you're talking about?
Oh, I mean, come on. You know, the brothers are drug dealers, the sisters are strippers, we're angry Black women. There's the mammy, the angry Black woman, the woman with the Oprah complex
just evolved,
who doesn't want a family. You know what, you understand what I'm saying? Like there's no, where is the representation of women who are bosses, but in their homes, they respect their husbands equally. You know what I mean? They take care of their children, they cook, they clean, they do laundry, and they still go to work and kick ass. Like where's that narrative?
So I have a question for you. Where is the foundation of that coming from?
It's coming from me watching the destruction of my community.
I'm talking about the action.
Oh, yeah, what is the action?
Yeah.
The action is that we have to create opportunities to own the content that we create. And partner versus be works for hire.
Right.
If Taraji P. Henson is the top of the food chain in terms of Black actresses in Hollywood,
or Viola Davis,
or Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
I don't think you can use when we talk about actors and entertainers in this world that like universally people love. These are those people, and they are saying that it is culturally incompetent. The pay disparity is crazy. So why are our kids so consumed with becoming a part of an industry that Prince and Prince wrote "slave" on the side of his face? Michael Jackson is the world's greatest, most popular entertainer. I know Beyonce's a close second, but give me a break. The most powerful, influential people in this business have all said there is a problem there.
Yeah. But the people that are saying there's a problem, do they have accountability for themselves to be a solution? Does that reside in them to be a solution? You
know, you have to know better to do better.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So I don't think that Michael Jackson and Prince went there when he took on the machine for ownership of his masters.
Yeah.
Bob Marley's been talking about it. They do the action.
Yeah.
The onus is on the people who love and support these artists.
Yeah.
To listen.
Yeah. I kind of feel like it's like a cycle, because if you're constantly, what does entertainment mostly feed? The youth, the children, young people. Where are they getting the information from? How are they learning? You know, the parents, you know, they're allowing them, especially you get younger and younger parents, they're allowing the children to learn off of all the social media platforms, entertainment, and that's what's being fed. So that's like my question, like where is the source of feeding?
The source is in the distributors who are more concerned with capitalism and making money than they are the community.
Exactly.
And the only reason they're able to do that is because we give them the power to do it.
That's true.
And that is what people don't understand.
That is very true.
And the big responsibility lies on people like Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
Because he has, in my opinion, the power to change the lives of so many creatives. And it is not in hiring someone. It is not in giving them a lot of money. It is in teaching people how to fish.
Yeah.
Don't sit up high, look down low, and invite me occasionally to your palace to serve me fish. Show me how you caught it.
But I feel like that's what these, like, the expectation is in the wrong people. Me personally.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Let me ask you, what do you mean by that? The expectation is in the wrong people.
Like, we're expecting Oprah. We're expecting Tyler Perry. The story you just told me about Tyler Perry was like a struggle. You said you wish you would have had an empowerment. So now we're expecting the same person that is selective with his empowerment. What you're speaking, I agree. I agree with what you're saying, that from a grand scale and from a cultural perspective, that is how you have a grip on the industry. But then, okay, who's at the top? You got Oprah at the top. You got Tyler at the top. What are they doing? It's rumors that they might even be on a Jeff Epstein list. But then we're expecting them to make this great decision.
Okay, and let me say,
I feel like it's too much belief in man. And you said
agree.
that you got your opportunity based on faith.
I agree 100%.
So now we believing in man to make this change, but you got your opportunity with Michael Jackson. The first thing you said was through God. But then we expecting this man that's all over the place, even though he's in that position. I agree with you 100%. I'm just saying sometimes I feel like we put that expectation and you're going to get disappointed. Even though they're billionaires and they got this big old studio right up the street.
Yeah. I agree that faith, number one, over all things. But I also think that God gives us the ability to recognize where there needs to be change.
Absolutely.
And I think that while we can't like step inside of somebody's body and make them move in certain directions and do certain things, we can tell the truth about what some of the issues are that are blocking us from being able to get there.
Yes.
And if we can't count on people from our own community who have had our own lived experiences, right, to help, then we damn sure can't count on people who have no idea where we're coming from and what we do to help, right? So what we have to do is make sure that our viewers, which are the most powerful people in the world, right, the people who watch and consume the content that these people deliver to us, right? We have to make sure that they're aware and that their eyes are opened up. And the more people start to realize, I've been sold a bill of goods thinking that this was this, when really it's that, because it's coming.
Yeah.
The people tired.
Yeah.
Cat Williams was just the beginning.
Definitely, yeah.
And I think that is the painful, uncomfortable process that we're going to have to go through in order to get to the promise.
Right.
We got to call. It doesn't mean you stop working. Because people think I'm the most difficult, worst bitch on the planet. And I have been responsible for a lot of people having opportunities in their lives and careers. And I'm one of the most giving to a fault. My husband's like, you're going to really learn one day. Like polar opposite. But I can't be bothered by what people who don't know me think about me.
Right.
I have to stay focused on the goal.
Right.
And the goal is to build a platform, to build a universe where I am educating and informing and inspiring people to have ownership of their shit. Because I don't care how famous you are. I don't care how fancy your clothes are. I don't care how cute you are. I don't care how many cars you got, how many watches you wear. I don't care what parties you at, taking a picture for 2.5 seconds and then you all don't even speak to each other, right?
Right.
If you don't have ownership of your sugar, honey, iced tea, you have nothing of value to pass down to future generations of people. Absolutely. I just understood the importance of trademarking Nicci Gilbert and trademarking R&B Divas and trademarking Brownstone and trademarking Worth Me. You think you apply for a business and no, that's not it. You have to own it. And if you don't own it, you have no power.
Right.
Power and ownership go hand in hand.
Right.
And I wish instead of more of us flexing our wealth, flexing our popularity, we teach each other the importance of ownership. And people get afraid to talk about it because that's the truth. And it's going to irritate a lot of people. But my purpose is to say the lesson I learned from working with Tyler, I've worked with Latifah. And you know what? Shout out to Flavor Unit, Latifah and Shakim. Because that ownership play was offered to me with BET. And Shakim was like, no, we're going to own it and license it. And it's the most successful show from a wealth building perspective in my life than any show I've ever done.
You talking about from the ground up?
From the bottom up.
From the bottom up, sorry.
And purpose, we put away a predator who had been preying on girls and molesting and doing horrible things to young girls in the neighborhood. Sarah Stokes' father, no disrespect, Sarah, you know I love you, but he was an animal. And he went to jail for 30 to 60 years because he was sexually assaulting the 12-year-old little girl. Since she was 12, I think she was maybe, since she was 12 or 13, I think she was maybe 14, 17 at the time. But she watched from the bottom up and saw Sarah share her testimony about what her father was doing to her. That led to, one thing led to another, and they caught him red-handed. So this show that nobody's ever heard about put a predator away and was able to create some sort of, we were able to get our home, buy our home, because of a show that nobody really watched. But we had ownership. So in licensing, in advertising, and in every way, you're able to participate forever, as long as you have ownership of it.
Right. Nicci Gilbert, you've dropped a lot of jewels.
Yeah,
and
I know.
And
you need like 5 hours in my long.
Yeah,
I've been here for 30 years.
We're going to have to do some part 2s and part 3s and part 4s.
Yeah.
We'll definitely talk about that. Talk about this book that you got.
Diary of a Diva. So Diary of a Diva is going to follow the journey of just like that. It'll be a lot of, it's just my story.
Yeah.
And I don't expect people to be like, that's law, that's bond, whatever. It's just my experience and what I've learned. It's going to be a bird's eye view. It's a book and a docuseries. A bird's eye view into my case with which is still going on with P-Valley.
We didn't even get into that.
Yeah. We're surprisingly, my lawyer's like, this is the first time they've ever seen it, but we're already on the docket for appeal, which usually takes months and months.
Okay.
So we're on the docket for appeal already. And just like I said, even with that, I have a different perspective. It's not about anger, hostility, calling anybody out. It's about us just exploring whether or not this was a generational wealth opportunity for my family that we were prevented from having.
Yeah.
This is for my grandson, my granddaughter, and my nieces and nephews. This ain't even about me at this point. Ownership.
Yeah. I love it. Of course, you see it right here. I appreciate you so much. So much information.
Auntie, baby. No aunties, y'all better start listening to these aunties out here. We love y'all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let them know everything, the website,
yes,
social media platforms.
Absolutely. Our streaming platform is coming. It will be, we're looking at February as a launch, March at the very latest. Worth TV streaming platform, worthmedia.com. You can go there right now. WIRFmedia.com. Register for that. At Nicci Gilbert on all platforms. We have a new Nights with Nicci coming, and just look. Follow me on Instagram. You know I'm gonna talk about it.
Yes. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Nicci Gilbert, TrendsetterSense.
Thank you.
Rhythm and Streets.
Trendsetter.